Hi there. Welcome to Oakland Side 510. I'm Tasneem Raja, editor-in-chief of the Oakland Side, Oakland's independent nonprofit newsroom. Oakland has a new permanent police chief. Mayor Barbara Lee recently named James Beere to the job after he'd already spent 7 months running the department as interim chief.
Yes, it is my great honor to appoint interim police chief James Beere as the next chief of the Oakland Police Department. Chief Beere, congratulations, and join me in welcoming.
I'll talk with our public safety reporter, Roselyn Romero, about who Beere is, how he landed one of the hardest jobs in Oakland city government, and why it's been so difficult for any OPD chief to hold on to this job for long. We'll also get into what Beere is walking into right now, a department on the verge of finally exiting 23 years of federal oversight, but still short-staffed, still working through an overtime crisis, and right now, negotiating a new police union contract. Let's get into it. James Beere, who's been running Oakland's police department on an interim basis since December, will now be Oakland's top officer for good. I'm joined by our public safety reporter, Roselyn Romero, who has covered Beere's rise closely. Roselyn, thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me, Tasneem.
Let's start with the basics. Who is James Beere?
Sure. He is a nearly 30-year veteran of the Oakland Police Department.
Mm-hmm.
He started as a patrol officer back in 1997, and he's worked his way up through the ranks ever since. He was sergeant, a commander, deputy chief, and finally, assistant chief. He spent years in OPD's Special Victims Unit, and he's an Oakland resident. He and his wife have lived here for about 3 decades, and they raised 3 sons who all went through Oakland public schools.
And he has a military background as well, right?
He does. Before joining OPD, Beere served in the U.S. Marine Corps. He did a 7-month tour in Iraq, where he was shot in the hand. A couple months later, he suffered a concussion and inner ear damage when a homemade bomb exploded under his vehicle.
Wow.
His unit was later credited with foiling an ambush, and he received a Purple Heart.
That's a lot of history, even before he put on an OPD badge.
That's right. And once he did, he had a pretty colorful career. Earlier on, as a narcotics officer, he raided a West Oakland home, and he found a hidden bunker stocked with food and water. And it was run by a, quote, survivalist who also had Nazi paraphernalia.
Not what you want?
Yeah. And so years later, while Beere was working undercover with OPD's Vice and Child Exploitation Unit, a man who was impersonating a police officer actually tried to pull Beere over on International Boulevard.
Okay.
Another time, Beere was trying to arrest a man accused of indecent exposure at Lake Merritt. That man punched Beere in the mouth, and both of them ended up in the hospital. Point being, Beere has seen a lot of different kinds of action on the street and worked with a lot of different units. He knows this department, and he knows public safety in Oakland.
That's really good to know. Okay, let's get into how he became OPD's new police chief. So can you walk us through that timeline?
Sure. Beere was an assistant chief, or number 2 to the police chief, when Mayor Barbara Lee announced his boss, Floyd Mitchell, was leaving. Beere stepped in as interim chief soon after. That announcement came during a really difficult week for Oakland. Skyline High School had just gone into lockdown after a student was shot on campus. And Laney College's longtime football coach, John Beam, had just been shot and killed.
Right.
Then in March, Beere sat down with us and said that he had applied to be the department's permanent chief. By then, he had already overseen a lot, rebuilding the ceasefire violence prevention strategy, re-signing a ShotSpotter contract to keep gunshot detection in Oakland, and extending flock surveillance cameras in Oakland as well. He told us he wanted the job for good.
And Roselyn, I understand from your reporting that the police commission ran that search for the next chief. The police commission, that being Oakland's civilian police oversight group.
They did, with help from an outside recruiting firm called Ralph Anderson and Associates. It took about 6 months. And in early June, commissioners sent Mayor Lee a short list of 3 finalists.
Mm-hmm.
One thing that was different this time around, the commission kept the finalists' names confidential.
Mm-hmm.
In the past, they've publicized candidates so that the public could weigh in. But commissioners said past applicants told them that they wouldn't have applied if they had known that their names would be made public. The recruiting firm gave similar guidance.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. So we don't know who the other 2 finalists were.
We don't. But in the end, Mayor Lee picked the person who had already been running the department for 7 months and had frankly done a lot and faced a lot in the job in that short amount of time.
Yeah. What did the mayor say about why she chose him?
She talked a lot about stability. At a press conference last week, she said Oakland has cycled through too much turnover in police leadership and that Beere has earned the trust of both officers and the community.
Throughout this process, I was looking for someone who understands policing and who understands Oakland. Someone who sees the position not only as simply a job, but as a commitment to our city. And so I am pleased and I'm confident that Interim Chief James Beere demonstrated that commitment.
City Council President Kevin Jenkins was there too, and he pointed out that Beere actually lives in his own East Oakland district, and he called it a great hire.
Beere is absolutely on the ground. He is rooted in the community. He will show up everywhere, all right?
Okay, what about Beere himself? What has he been saying about the job?
He's talked a lot about the department's federal oversight program, which is finally close to wrapping up after 23 years.
Yeah.
At the press conference, he said that even after Oakland exits federal court oversight, the underlying reforms aren't going anywhere. He put it this way, they're, quote, stitched into the fabric of this police department.
I've been here for 29 years. I've lived through it. And I can tell you that the negotiated settlement agreement is actually the industry standard for best policing practices. I've seen the worst, but I've also seen the best. And I'm a product of the NSA. I'm a product of the negotiated settlement agreement. And if we are taken out of court oversight in September, the negotiated settlement agreement's not going away. That's stitched into the fabric of this police department, and I have accepted that throughout my whole career. And it's what's made me be a leader within our community, and the residents in our community deserves that. That is the base foundation to make sure that we're doing constitutional policing the right way and to make sure our community is safe.
Yeah, and he has a really interesting perspective here. As you said, he's a 30-year OPD veteran, which means he's been with the department long enough to remember life before federal oversight. And then he's been here the entire time that it has been under oversight. I do want to talk about the oversight piece a little more. It's a really big deal. Roselyn, just remind listeners about how we got here.
Mm-hmm. It goes back to the early 2000s when a group of OPD officers known as the Riders beat up, kidnapped, and planted drugs on West Oakland residents, almost all of them Black.
Yeah.
A civil rights lawsuit followed, and in 2003, the city agreed to 51 court-ordered reforms that OPD had to complete, overseen by a federal judge and a federal monitor. 23 years later, OPD is finally close to the finish line. In May, the federal monitor reported that for the first time ever, the department was in full compliance with all 51 tasks.
Got it. All right, let's talk about turnover in this position. Let's talk about why keeping a chief in this seat has been so hard historically, because I know from our reporting, this is a real pattern in Oakland.
It really is. When Mitchell resigned last fall, one longtime OPD deputy chief pointed out that he was the 16th police chief she'd seen come through during her time at the department.
Wow.
Go back through Oakland's history since the early 1990s, and there is chief after chief who got pushed out for political reasons, left in the middle of a scandal, or only lasted a matter of months.
I mean, some of them, I have to assume, lasted significantly longer.
Yes, but some barely lasted at all.
Yeah.
So back in 2016, after then Chief Sean Went abruptly resigned amid a police sexual exploitation scandal,
Yeah.
the city cycled through 2 more chiefs in about 2 weeks.
Yeah.
One lasted just 6 days, the other just 2, before the city administrator herself had to step in and run the department. That whole crisis is actually what led voters to create Oakland's Civilian Police Commission later that year.
Yeah. I mean, totally makes sense that that's where it came out of. At the same time, this is part of what makes this job so hard, isn't it? There's so many layers of oversight.
Exactly. Whoever holds this job answers to 3 different bosses, essentially, any of whom can remove them. The mayor, the Civilian Police Commission, and the federal monitor overseeing the reform program. On top of that, this chief is managing a department that is chronically understaffed in a city with a very long and complicated history with policing.
Yeah. Which brings us to what Beere is actually walking into right now. Let's start with staffing, because that has been a constant headache.
It has. Back in March, when Beere sat down with us, OPD was authorized for 678 officers, but had only about 500 on the street.
Yeah.
The department's own inspector general found that OPD would need 877 officers just to maintain its current level of service, let alone improve it. Beere told us what the city really needs long-term is closer to 1,200 officers.
That is a massive gap from where we are right now.
It really is. And Beere pointed out that Oakland's population has grown by tens of thousands of people since OPD had 800 officers back around 2010. The department just hasn't caught up.
Yeah. What is he trying to do to close the gap?
He has leaned really hard on recruitment. Under his watch, OPD graduated 14 trainees from one police academy class in December, had 18 more coming through in the following class, and was expecting more than 40 in the class that started in April. He also brought back OPD's cadet program, which gives high schoolers a paid pathway into the department. Historically, cadets who go on to the police academy graduate at a rate of over 90%.
Oh, wow. Okay. Switching gears, I want to talk about Beere has approached police overtime, because that has also been a major story of ours this year. We worked with freelance investigative reporter Beck Klein on a bombshell reporting series that we published in the spring. Beck found that one OPD officer was paid nearly $500,000 in overtime in 2024, and that the department couldn't even document almost half of those hours.
Right. Shortly after that story ran, Beere issued a special order canceling discretionary or voluntary overtime. Now, extra shifts need approval from his office, and commanders have to justify overtime requests with actual data. He told the city council at the time, quote, "I live here, I'm raising my kids here." And he said that this spending feels personal for him as a taxpayer.
Is it working?
It's a start, but the bigger fix, a real digital scheduling and overtime tracking system, isn't expected to be up and running until at least the end of next year.
Right. Listeners and readers may recall that Beck's reporting also revealed to us that an astonishing amount of this overtime tracking is still happening with pen and paper.
That's right. Also, right now, OPD's police union contract just expired, And so right now it's being negotiated as we speak. Community advocates want that new union contract to lower the overtime limit, which currently allows officers to accrue up to 300 hours per year. And that's also well above the regional average of around 190 hours. Advocates also want to finally activate GPS trackers showing where patrol cars are. These GPS trackers are already installed in OPD cars, but they haven't been turned on for over a year.
Yeah. It sounds from everything you're saying, Roselyn, that Beere is stepping into the permanent job right as a lot of these fights are coming to a head.
He really is. And just this week, we got a reminder of how fast things can move.
Yeah.
OPD officers fatally shot a person near Fruitvale who they say was armed with, quote, bladed weapons. That was the third officer-involved shooting in Oakland this year. Beere spoke to reporters at the scene, but didn't share many details, saying that the investigation is ongoing.
Right.
And because OPD encrypted its radios last year, we weren't able to independently confirm much about how the incident unfolded.
Yeah, that is a real problem related to our ability to report on situations like this. I know that this story is overall still developing.
It is. We'll keep reporting on it.
Great. Let's close on this. Roselyn, what does it seem like Oakland actually needs from its new police chief based on everything you have reported?
Trust and access. Floyd Mitchell, his predecessor, barely spoke to reporters his whole time here. He did one real sit-down interview in 19 months.
Yeah, not because we didn't ask. We kept asking.
Right. And when Mayor Barbara Lee's office was asked what she wanted in the next chief, her office said building public trust requires, quote, transparency and open communication with the public. Beere, at least so far, has been more available. When he announced he was applying for the permanent job back in March, his department actually set up a press day so that local outlets, including the Oakland side, could each get one-on-one time with him.
Yeah.
He told us he wants what he called, quote, kneecap to kneecap, eyeball to eyeball conversations, not just with his own officers, but with residents and others in Oakland's civic landscape.
Right. I hope that will continue to include us. I will say I appreciate Chief Beere's engagement with the local press to date. We'll see if that holds up now that the job is his for good.
We'll be watching. And I'm certainly always open to hearing from Chief Beere or anyone with useful information to share on public safety in Oakland.
Roselyn's email address is roselyn@oaklandside.org. Roselyn, thank you so much for walking us through all of this.
Thank you, Tasneem.
That's this week's episode of Oakland Side 510. Sorry, no headlines today with so much to cover on Oakland's new police chief. You can find all the stories we talked about today and all of our other recent reporting at oaklandside.org. Sign up for our daily newsletter to get our reporting delivered straight to your inbox. If you haven't already, leave us a review on Apple Podcasts. I genuinely love reading those. Please keep them coming. This episode was produced by Mark Nieto and hosted by me, Tasneem Raja. On behalf of our entire newsroom, thank you for showing up for Oakland. We'll see you next week.